สวัสดีครับท่านผู้ชมผมพีทนะครับวันนี้กีตาร์ไทยอินเทอร์วิวชาแนลนะครับจะพาท่านผู้ชมทุกท่านนะครับมาพูดคุยเจาะลึกเกี่ยวกับหนึ่งในแบรนด์แอมที่เรียกว่ามีชื่อเสียงที่สุดในโลกนะครับแล้วก็คิดว่ามือกีตาร์ชาวไทยหลายๆคนคงจะชื่นชอบแอมแบรนด์นี้กันนะครับโดยเฉพาะขาเมทัลขาไฮเกรดนะครับก็วันนี้ผมมีโอกาสพาทุกท่านมาพูดคุยกับคุณแมทธิว สมิธนะครับเขาเป็น International Sales Manager ของบริษัท Mesa Boogie แอมนะครับยังไงเดี๋ยวเรามาดูกันว่าเราจะมีเรื่องอะไรที่น่าสนใจมาคุยกันบ้างนะครับOh, hello, Matthew.
Hey, man.
Nice to have you here. I'm good.
Good to be here.
First of all, could you share the history of Mesa Boogie with us?
Sure, yeah. Boogie was started back in, it was around about 1969 by our founder and president, Randall Smith. Randy started off repairing amps first. He had a music store in San Francisco in the Haight-Ashbury area called Prune Music. And Randy basically worked in the back repairing, fixing amps. And a guy working in the front selling guitars and stuff. So he was very happy back there and he was kind of fixing stuff and he would see amps coming in which, you know, he would see possible design flaws and issues with. And then he started getting to the point where he thought, well, I could do this better. And started maybe hot rodding the amps a little bit more. Long story short, he ended up coming up with this technology, I guess, that we call cascading gain preamp, which was taking the input signal and driving that really hard with the 12AX7 and then driving it hard into another 12AX7 and along and along and along. Kind of like a snowball going down the hill, you know? So by the time the signal got to the end, it had loads of sustain, fantastic amount of gain. It was incredible. And it was something that nobody else had really heard before. Because before that, to get an amp to distort and overdrive, you had to turn it right up. So he was doing that, and he'd essentially taken a Fender Bassman, which is quite a big chassis, and shoehorned that into this Fender Princeton, tiny little amp, you know?
Yeah, combo, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, and he did that, and he'd modified it really heavily. So he had this tiny little amp, which just gave out this massive sound.
Yeah.
And you know, people started to hear about this amp, and they came in and checked it out, and then this other guy comes in, Carlos Santana, and Carlos came in and played it, and he went nuts. He absolutely loved it. It was incredible. It was like a revelation for him. And his playing style, it's not too much to say that his playing style that day evolved to something even more incredible than it was, because finally he found he could sustain notes for a long time. He could bend those strings, and the amp would stay with him. It would follow him and do what he wanted it to do. And it was a really unique sound, because before that, guitar had been like a rhythm instrument. Suddenly, it was almost kind of like up there with the sax. You know, it was like a solo instrument. And Carlos, he was playing for ages that day. And basically, the way Randy tells it is that there were a group of people outside on the street, and when he finished, he just kind of put the guitar down and just said, "Man, that little thing really boogies." And that's where the name came from. And since then, you know, once that happened, it's like it just grew in notoriety, and Randy started making the amps, the little, you know, what later became the Mark I. He started making that in a tiny little, really a dog shack in the mountains of California. Few people helping him do it, everything done by hand. Always doing it the right way, always wanting to make the very best instrument possible. And then, obviously, more people wanted it, and he ended up building a factory in a small town called Petaluma in San Francisco, or near San Francisco rather, about an hour north of San Francisco. And from that point on, we just grew. And we're still in that factory now, over 45 years later. And Randy is still the private owner of the company. It's still his company. He's probably designs about 90% of the product. It's his company, man. He's still passionate about it. And all of that basically comes down that we get from him. It's like doing everything the very best that you can, making the very best product and the very best instrument that you can, and giving musicians like a voice, really giving them the means to express themselves. So, you know, we started small, and right now we're still small. We only have about 100 people in the company. We all do lots of different jobs at the company. We don't just have one gig, you know. It's like we're all musicians. We all play and we understand it, and it's like it's really important, it's really critical that we stay that way.
Yeah. So like how many amp can you produce per month?
That's not something I'm going to share.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, we can. I mean, put it this way.
Yeah.
You can order whatever you want, and with a reasonable time frame, you can have that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. And what is your philosophy behind building the amplifier?
It's just to build the best instrument we can
Yeah.
build. I mean, if you look at a lot of Randy's designs, stuff like JP-2C and things like that, and the Mark V as well. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility in it. The idea is to make an instrument that really a customer, and it is an instrument, that's something somebody can really play. Something that's going to last for 15, 20, 25 years, and that every day when they plug into it, it gives them that same kind of thrill that they got the first time they plugged into it, the first time they played it. And at the same time, it's really important that the quality is there, that the consistency is there. We want to make sure that people are happy with their amp, with their Boogie.
Yeah.
And the philosophy is really just always the same. Build it the best that you can and treat customers the way that we ourselves would want to be treated.
Okay. And Mesa Boogie is famous for US high gain kind of sound. So can you talk more about it? Like what is the characteristic of the US sound?
Well, I mean, it's different. I guess it depends which amp you're talking about. I mean, because like the Recto is one style of high gain, and things like the Mark V, for example, is another style. The Mark series thing. I mean, I think one characteristic that all of Randy's amps have always shared, and all of our amps have shared, is really the sustain, the smoothness, the ability to kind of solo, and for the amp to stay with you. Okay. It's like almost like a violin type thing. It's amazing, and it changes the way that you play. But the philosophy is obviously for different amps we want to achieve different things. So I wouldn't generally sort of say it's all an American sound or all a British sound or whatever. It's just kind of like how it is. But I think in terms of the rectifier, we wanted to do something very different than we did with the Mark series. Because the Mark series thing was, that's got its own thing. With the rectifier, essentially we kind of turned that circuit inside out. And suddenly we had like a post-gain EQ and stuff like that. And that amp has got like a real punch and a boldness and an aggressiveness to it.
Yeah.
And it's, I think I was talking about this earlier, is like that amp, when you listen to that, the gain is almost too much. It's almost too much, but it's just not. It's like the right side of that. And I think it's an amazing amp. It's an incredible amp. And it was incredible that Randy, not having defined high gain, because there was no other amp ever that had done that before Randy did it, having defined that, he came along, 20 years or whatever it was later, and just defined it yet again.
Yeah.
And hopefully with things like the Mark V and the JP-2C and stuff, hopefully we're going to bring even more new musicians into the family so that they can experience that too.
Okay. And what is your product range at the moment?
It's kind of big. We've got all day,
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, I think a lot of people might look at all of the products that we do and maybe get a little bit confused by it because there is quite a wide range.
Yeah.
But really the idea is just to make sure that we have something for everybody. So, and we talked about, we have the Rectifier series, obviously. Then on top of that, we have the Mark series, like the products with the Boogie badge.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, we have the Express series, we have the Lone Star series. We also make pedals.
Yeah.
We make the cab clone accessory, and naturally we also make bass amps, and we also do cabinets to match.
Okay.
So the idea is, for example, if you buy a Mark V head or something, that we have a cabinet that perfectly fits it physically and visually, but also tonally. And we use different speakers in certain cabs to achieve that. So the product range is very wide, but actually it really is kind of quite simple to understand. We have for the Recto thing basically appeals to guys that are generally into a heavier style of music, more kind of overdriven and a much more kind of scooped EQ to it.
Metal?
Yeah,
something like that.
Oh man, it's I mean, you look at a Recto and it's like got diamond plate on the front. And it's
look rock.
Yeah, come on, it's like. And in fact, what? Actually, when the Rectos first came out, they were, when we first released them, they were released with black leather. They had black leather covering on them. And it was like, man, you know, I think Randy once said, like, what are you going to dress a rocker in? And it's like plastic. It's like, you know. And it was that whole thing, you know, he wanted to do something completely different, and he did. The Mark series they certainly get aggressive as well, but that covers a kind of a slightly different tonal range. You know, I think, personally for me, I think the Mark series has a slightly more open sound. It's not a case of better or anything like that. It's just different. Mark series is amazing though. I mean, it's the foundation of our company. Lone Star, classic American kind of tonality, you know, super sweet. You know, for guys that are into kind of blues, you know, sort of like country, sort of push tones, that kind of thing, that'll do that. But it will also cover, because it has its roots and its history in the in the boogie bloodline, it will actually cover a lot of really cool kind of high gain soloing and stuff like that. So and works great with pedals as well. The Express Plus, that series just basically is amazing at everything it does, and does it at a price point, at the right package, and is still the right price point, and in a great package, and is still built the same way as all of our other amps. So we have that. Obviously, you have the bass product. So we have like tube bass product. We also have hybrid and a Class D amp, a brand new Class D amp. Then on top of that, obviously, we have the pedals, overdrive pedals. We have a graphic EQ in a pedal, cab clone. So we do lots of stuff, and we do cabinets to match. So
okay. In the morning session, I heard a cool story about the boogie level, the boogie. They only appear on the Mac series, right? Could you tell more story?
Yeah,
about
sure. So basically, you know, I told you the little story about Carlos when he said, "Man, that little thing really boogies."
Boogie.
And that was the only amp that Randy made at the beginning. It was the Boogie. So that's kind of like the product name, if you will. So that when we got to the second version of that amp, that became the Mark II.
Okay.
Mark III, Mark IV, Mark V just all went on. But they're all really that version of that original amp, the Boogie. So that's why that name is on there.
Yeah. So only this series that have the Boogie.
There have been occasions in the past where you might have seen the Boogie logo on other things, but we made a very conscious decision quite a while back now, actually, to really make sure that we separated and delineated between those. And that's why you'll see the Boogie logo only on Mark series amplifiers. And then the Mesa Engineering logo that you see on rectifiers, that's obviously something separate. And the Mesa Engineering thing came from when Randy had to set up a company, because he used to like moonlight rebuilding Mercedes engines and stuff like that. And he was buying a lot of parts to do this hot rodding of these amps and this modification. And, you know, the suppliers were starting to get a little bit suspicious. The little guy in Northern California is buying loads of transformers and stuff. So he had to have a legit business name. And Mesa Engineering was came up. So that's why.
Engineer company.
Well, that's what we do. We do engineer, man. It's like, it's not, man, to take something from just an idea, a concept, and to go through all of that, and then to finally have something that people can plug in and express themselves through musically is like amazing, you know. But it's engineering.
Okay. And in the 1980 and 1990, the rack mount format was very famous.
Along with like the big hair and stuff.
And the refrigerator size rack mount system. And Mesa Boogie was very famous for the tri-axis. Sure. Right. Could you tell more about it?
Tri-axis, man. And it's still today one of the most amazing things. What was so cool about that is, like, basically the guy that designed it is a guy called Dan, who works for us, Dan Van Riesen, and Dan basically took all of the existing heritage of the Mark series, and then later on the Rectifier series, and kind of condensed it into this preamp, this single, one rack U preamp, and it had digital control, which was, not completely revolutionary, but it was quite a new thing. But the cool thing about it is the way that the preamp, which is completely analog, interacts with the digital side. There's like a bridge between the two that ensures that neither of them ever interact So the tonal path is completely analog.
Yeah.
It's like just swallowing up all these amps into this one new rack thing, and then giving it MIDI control, dynamic voicing, all the digital control, all these different modes, and it's still today it's actually really it's really popular for us because it's quite unique. Because out there are obviously a lot of other rack preamps and stuff. But a lot of those things are digital.
Yeah.
This is analog.
So it's analog, but controlled by the digital.
Yeah.
But the circuit is completely analog.
Absolutely.
Okay. And what factor makes amplifier sound good?
Oh God, it's like how long have we got? Well, you need to start with quality components, obviously, but the quality components are no good without a great design.
Yeah.
And there's same the other way. So they kind of go hand in hand. I mean, that's really it. You have to design the amp in the right way and then build it in the right way as well.
Okay. And you offer many, custom wood, exotic wood to build the amp and also the cabinet, right?
Sure.
So does the wood type affect to the sound?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, it kind of depends what the wood is. But yeah, I mean, it will do to a degree because you can't, that has such an important part of the cabinet. But it doesn't affect it to the point where people will start saying, oh, well, I must have a flame maple cabinet because I want more of this. It's like, no, it doesn't do that.
Okay. And you also, what are options that you offer for like a custom order?
So for custom stuff, we have a number of different vinyls, like different vinyl colors.
Yeah.
We have different grill finishes as well, different piping, different handles and corners. We have different jewel lights on rectifiers, like over, you can't see it, I guess, off camera, but there's like a little red mini rectifier, so red diamond plate. Beyond that, we offer smooth leather, suede, embossed leather, so like different crocodile, whatever, lizard. Then we offer hardwoods. And the hardwoods we offer 3 different grades. Minimum AAA grade. Flame, quilt, bubinga. It's just, it honestly, we do a lot of, at the moment we're doing a lot of flame and quilt maple because that just looks so good, and we do it with a hand rubbed stain finish. I think one of the most popular ones at the moment is a finish called Tiger Eye, which is like this amazing sort of multicolored kind of like amber finish. It's incredible, but it's all hand done. I mean, we do every single one of those custom cabinets by hand.
And if the audience is interesting, they can find information on your website.
Yeah, if you go to our website,
also local dealer.
If you go to the website, we have what we call the custom gallery, and you can actually go there, look at all of the individual swatches, and then you can actually look for amps that have already been made with that, and they have really nice pictures of that. And at the end of it, you can actually select what finishes you want and print it out and take it to your dealer, and it will have the right information. Okay. So but I mean, ultimately to order it, you go to see your dealer, and we even do inlaying as well in the hardwood stuff. So the sky is the limit.
Yeah. Okay. And this amp right here, I think it just arrived in Thailand. Can you talk about the John Petrucci Signature model, right?
Yeah. I mean, John has had a relationship with Boogie for a long time. We're very, very close with him. Amazingly talented guy, and not just a talented guy, but a humble and really nice person as well. And he just loves Boogie products. He's been using it for his whole career pretty much. And he's had everything from Road Kings, Mark V's, Triaxis, he had Lone Stars and stuff. But the one amp that he always went back to and always records with is the Mark 2C Plus. He has a number of them, and I would say he's probably one of the world's he's probably one of the most knowledgeable people on those amps anywhere. But that Mark 2C Plus is on every Dream Theater album. It's on his solo album. He loves it, and there's a specific one particularly that he loves. At the same time, for a long time, everyone has been saying to us, when are you going to reissue the Mark 2C Plus? Because man, we made that back in early 80s. Probably made like 2,000 or 3,000 of them. So nowadays they're collector's items, very expensive, very difficult to find. And it's not just John that loved those. There was loads of guys like James Hetfield. That's a massive part of his sound. So for a long time, we've had people asking us to reissue it. But the problem with reissuing an amp like that, and the problem for John using it on tour and stuff, is it was made in the 80s, in the early 80s, when multiple channels with completely independent sets of controls and things like that were not really commonplace with it. They didn't happen. So it's not really flexible enough for what people would expect today. And John there's no way going to take that on tour because it could get damaged.
Yeah, and I used to see he need like 2 or 4
he's like
to complete his sound, the sound
he's got quite a serious rig. So you know, all of this time people have been asking us about that, and for a long time John has been saying, man, I would really love to design an amp with you guys. So that kind of happened, and it just organically kind of came together, and it seemed like John's list of what he wanted in an amp coincided with us just falling in love with the Mark II-C Plus all over again, because you remember we actually put that in the Mark V as well. So it's like all of that came together. I guess the planets aligned, and through John's needs, we ended up creating this amplifier, which which is so focused on being a Mark II-C Plus, but for today, for now. So it has 3 completely independent channels, has like 2 independently assignable EQs, has cap clone, but has MIDI switching as well. And we went to extraordinary depths to make sure that amp absolutely nails that Mark II-C Plus tone. So we redesigned the transformer to match the original 105 transformer. We didn't make it simulclass. We made it a traditional 60, 100 watt version, which is the one that John loves the most. In that amp, we give you a few things that John really likes, some extra stuff that John likes, but we also have options to select the original values of the Mark II-C Plus as well. So the JP-2C basically is a Mark II-C Plus expanded, evolved for this century, I guess, and it's an amazing amp to play. And hopefully, if you're not a Dream Theater fan, you don't have to be a Dream Theater fan to love that amp. It really is amazing.
It's a Mark II-C Plus.
It is a Mark II-C Plus, and anyone who says it's not, they need to plug into it.
We could say it's a classic Mark II-C Plus with the modern feature.
Completely. It's exactly what it is. Bang up to date. But I mean, we've added a few little things to it, but it's taken a long time to put that amp together, and we're very conscious throughout that whole process that it had to sound like an original II-C Plus. And there's no way John Petrucci is going to have his name on the front panel of that amp or on the front of that amp, and there's no way he's going to use it because he recorded it. Like he recorded his whole last album with that. He's out touring with it right now. Just look at him; he's using it. He's not going to do that just because it satisfies the guy, that's the story behind it. So.
Okay, and also in the morning session, very informative information about the pre-gain and post-gain EQ.
Okay.
Could you talk more about it? Because all the EQ knob here is the pre-gain, right? And all the feather graphic EQ
the graphic is post-gain.
So how to make use of it.
Okay, so pre-gain EQ, not all of our amps are pre-gain EQ, but I mean Rectos aren't, but the pre-gain EQ essentially kind of goes all the way back to the sort of Fender amps. So as the name suggests, the EQ is before the gain stage. Which is fine, it's great, it makes the amp sound great, but there are some things that you have to be careful with that. One of them is the bass control. If you're not careful with the bass control, it can get really loose. And and no one kind of likes that. It's indistinct and it overtakes the sound. The graphic EQ is post-gain. So one of the kind of tricks that you can use is if you want lots of bass, then run the bass quite low in the preamp section. And then when you get to the EQ, switch the EQ in, and you can bump the bass up with that. And that will be much tighter at the low end and much more focused and controlled. And will follow your playing a lot better.
And that's also the unique features of the Mesa Boogie amp that you cannot find in other brands.
And the 5-band EQ is something that you hardly ever see a graphic EQ on an amp. But for years, Randy Man, we had it on all of the Mark Series amps, and it's necessary. It's so much an integral part of it because those, like, you could take a regular EQ, like a rack EQ, and it wouldn't sound right. That Boogie 5-band graphic has been evolved at specific frequencies, and it sounds so musical. It's like the way that we designed that EQ. It really is musical. It's got this amazing quality. It's built for guitar. And it's so powerful. You know, just that mid slider, you can go from super scooped to, like, you know, kind of punk mid-range, not instantly. So yeah, it's an integral part of it.
Okay. And about the cap clone that you mentioned before.
Yeah.
I think this may be a new tools for guitarists these days. Some of the audience may not familiar with it. Could you talk more about it? What is it?
Man, cap clone. The idea is that it allows you. It's a power soak. Okay, so you can basically plug the speaker output from your amp into it. It's basically a load, an amp load. So you can plug your amp into it, and then it has a bunch of different outputs. Like it has an XLR out, a balanced out that you can then take into a desk. You could put it into your monitors. You can do anything you want with it. Or it's got a headphone output. You can listen to headphones late at night when you play. But what it does is it kind of captures the tonality of your amp and then allows you to record with it, to play live with it, whatever you want to do, use headphones. And it has a cabinet simulator on it, 3 different positions that allow you to vary, you know, the response of it. It's really flexible. It's amazing, and we're starting to put it in a lot of our amps because we recognise that people, you know,
love it.
Yeah, man, they love it, but they demand flexibility. You know, we live in a sort of a time now where there are, you know, it's like modelling and all this kind of stuff. People want to record with their amps, but sometimes they don't have the luxury of having a microphone or whatever, and that's what Cab Clone does. But I think it's one of the things with Cab Clone. It's easy to get caught in the name of it, like Cab Clone. You know,
it requires. The cabinet, right?
I got to say, it requires some work to make sure that it sounds right because that device doesn't respond in exactly the same way as a real traditional speaker would. So if anyone, you know, when I say you get your Cab Clone, the first thing I would say is reset the settings on your amp. Don't expect the Cab Clone to react the same way. But, you know, you're going to probably need to EQ it at the desk or the PA or whatever. But when you get it right, it sounds amazing. Really, really cool.
Okay. And for the guitarists who want to try Mesa Boogie amp, once they come to the dealer, the shop, do you have any suggestion for them once they plug the guitar in?
Yeah, I mean, just a few. I think it's quite normal for players to turn the gain all the way up, turn the treble all the way up, turn the mid all the way down, turn the bass all the way up. You know, that kind of thing. That creates a really unbalanced tone on our amps. We put a lot of flexibility in the amps, and there's a lot of range on the EQ. They're very powerful EQ controls. The problem, I suppose, is if somebody uses excessive settings, it really makes it sound unbalanced. It kind of messes everything up. It's kind of like having, you know, if you drive a really fast car, you can't just drive it with your foot to the floor everywhere. You have to know, you know, when to kind of come off the gas a bit. So I would say if you go into the store and there's no one to kind of help guide you through the amp, the first thing is just remember, don't turn everything all the way up, all right? Even the gain. For me, I would say don't put the gain above kind of, like 3 or 4 o'clock. Beyond that, it just gets a little bit noisier, doesn't add a lot. I would say don't scoop all the mid out. Like the mid is where a lot of the guitar's voice and its character lives. So don't just scoop it all out. None of the controls. Don't just, what they call dime them. Don't just turn it all the way up. I think a lot of the sweetest tones that you can get in our amps, not exclusively, but a lot of them operate in what I call the 10 to 2 range. So as on the face of a clock, kind of like 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, so this bit here. And if you stick to that, that will give you a really good place to start. You know, and if you think that the sound needs more bass, maybe instead of boosting up the bass, possibly try attenuating the mid a little bit. You know, think about it like that. The less you need to boost things, and the less you need to kind of dial things up more, the better it's going to sound, I think. So try and keep it balanced so you can hear the character of the guitar coming through.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe last one.
Yeah.
Why boogie?
Why not? No, I mean, I think I've just kind of talked about it a lot. Man, everything we do is just designed. It's geared towards our our customers, the player. We want people to really be passionate about guitar playing and bass playing. We want to give people a real voice. Man, someone's calling. Is that your phone?
No.
Yeah, we really want to give somebody like a voice. We want to give them expressiveness and give them the opportunity to really communicate through playing, and I think that's something really special and important. And we want to sort of give them something that has lasting value. You know, that after a year or whatever, they don't go, I think I'm going to look for another, I'm going to look for another amp. Because what happens with that, if you've got like if you spend, you buy like a cheaper amp and it doesn't quite work for you, you trade it in, you get another one and it doesn't quite work, and you spend all that time chasing down your tone. If you find one of our amps that really does the business for you straight away, for the next 15 or 20 years,
you can spend your time playing, right?
And that's it, and that is really what it's all about, because it doesn't matter, we talk about all the technologies, we talk about all this stuff. What it really comes down to is it's playing, and you have to remember why you picked up the guitar in the first place, or the bass. What is it that motivates you? What do you want to do? And giving that, I don't know, I just find it amazing that we give people these instruments and these tools where they can communicate with somebody without speaking. And I think that's a real privilege that we have, and we're trying to bring more people into the family, so we're still a small company. We're still run by musicians, and we still care, so it's important.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Cheers. Hope you come back again.
I am absolutely coming back again, man. I love Thailand. It's great.
Thank you so much. ครับผมก็หวังว่าคงจะได้ความรู้กันนะครับแล้วก็ได้ไอเดียในการสมมติว่าอยากจะลองแอมสักตัวเนี่ยจะทำยังไงนะครับก็ยังไงถ้าต้องขอบคุณ Music Collection มาสำหรับโอกาสดีๆนะมาณที่นี้ด้วยนะครับก็ใครสนใจแอม Mesa Boogie ก็ลองในที่ Music Collection ทุกสาขานะครับยังไงวันนี้กีตาร์ไทย Individual ก็ลาไปก่อนแล้วกันเดี๋ยวรอดูกันว่าเทปหน้าเรามีโอกาสพาท่านผู้ชมไปคุยกับใครนะครับวันนี้ลาไปก่อนสวัสดีครับ